What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I've got a cheat sheet for you guys for every single ranked map, every single game mode, going through all the best first picks, all the best last picks, and just good picks just to know within draft. Of course, this isn't going to help you completely get towards Masters or Pro, whatever rank you want to get to, but just knowing the fundamentals of the meta will drastically improve your ranked. I know that for a fact, and over the years, people have always thanked me for this. So if you want me to continue with the type of guide videos, make sure you drop in a comment and liking and subscribing for all future content. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. Start off with Bounty. As always, I'll put the timestamps in the description to help you guys locate exactly what map and mode you need. Just quickly before we move into the best picks for every single map, I didn't put Mina on any of these graphics because Mina will be probably the best brawler in the game when she comes out and available inside of ranked. But for people below Masters, I don't advise actually banning Mina because she is a high skill cap brawler, and the players that you're going to be playing against probably won't be able to play Mina well. But if you're a good Mina player, then of course pick her to begin with. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Everywhere outside of knockout, she's going to be the best brawler. So dry season, what I say in Bounty is all about fighting for the blue star and just sitting back, especially on a map like dry season. So you want a bit of everything. You maybe want like a blue star collector, a little bit of an aggro brawler. So the likes of Kaze, one of the fastest brawlers in the game, with her geisha form, she can easily collect the blue star. You've also got, you know, a little bit of a tankier brawler that can push up to get the blue star. So again, you've got like Jaeyoung, he's a little bit tanky, right? You've got Bonnie, you've got Ollie, you've got Carl with flying hook. You want that type of brawler that can easily bully their way to the blue star, especially on a map like this. It's so crucial to get the lead. You've seen a lot of newer brawlers in this meta, like Byron, for example. He's really good thanks to the hypercharge. It just cycles so quickly. Gene is always a pretty safe pick. You've always got your snipers, but do be wary of the late pick throwers. Are the most dangerous on this map, I would say. So either have a wall break or at least something that's semi-aggressive like a Bonnie, Ollie, Kaze, etc., and you should be good to go, making sure you're covering all bases. Stella's next, and it's a new Bounty map in the rotation, and this map gives a lot of people headaches. As you can see, it's a very weird one. Like, you think snipers are pretty good, and they can be, but they also can get pressure back really easily. Throwers are very dominant, so be wary of that as a late pick inside of draft. So the best picks to begin with: Gene, Jaeyoung, Kaze. Can never really go wrong with those three brawlers. They're just good into everything, and Kaze is so good again an early lead blue star and also surprising the opponents with the invisibility gadget. Byron, he's just one of the best brawlers right now. It's thanks to his hypercharge, and he pairs well with a lot of aggressive brawlers like a Bonnie, like an Ollie. And the good thing about Ollie, yeah, you can counter him with like poke and other stuff. You don't really see poke on maps like this. So if anything, Ollie's always been good at knockout bounties, so you can safely play him here. You've got snipers that aren't like just only good at sniping, so like Gus, Bell, you know, they can defend themselves a lot better against aggression, unlike Mandy and Piper, who are, you know, they can be good, but I would say as it goes on in the higher ranks, these type of snipers are going to get countered pretty easily, because you're going to see a lot of like kits. You're going to see some Greys, Walking Canes just flying around the wall. It's just going to be so many brawlers that will pressure you easily because there's just so many walls. Just bear that in mind with Excel. So you can maybe go like one sniper, but you want that in between brawler for sure. So again, like brawlers like Squeak, I really enjoy here because he can wall peek really easily with a brawler like Squeak. Mr. P even really solid. Juju can be really good because there's so much grass. You want a bit of in between. You want a sniper, you want an in between, and you want something that can pressure the opponent. So Bounty, we have Hideout here. Best picks on your screen right here. So if Hideout, not a lot has really changed here. Actually, it's a little bit that's changed, but it's mainly like Ollie just becoming one of the best brawlers inside of the game. And again, you don't see too much Poco. A good player can definitely draft Poco and counter you, but you can definitely still make things work with Ollie. Again, you've got like Byron becoming a very strong brawler right now in the meta. His hypercharge is so fast charging, and pretty much every time it guarantees a kill. That's why a lot of people are going Byron right now. Jaeyoung, there's so many first pick brawlers that are really safe and just go into everything. Again, like what can really counter Jaeyoung? Pretty much nothing inside of Bounty. Bonnie as well, you can always just guarantee yourself a kill with a hypercharge with her. And then, you know, Carl getting the blue star, really good. Kaze is so good on this map, just being able to pop invisibility at any point. It's just really hard to keep on top of a good Kaze player. Your snipers can be pretty good here. Really like Mandy on Hideout in particular, mainly because you can just sit in the left lane and just, if you've got the lead, you're basically under no pressure. You can just sit there and snipe and farm super. You've got the likes of Grey that can push up the left side. I will say how Hideout is played. You normally want to send like 2 people left and then 1 person right to make sure that too many people aren't pushed up down that right hand side, or else it will force you back into spawn. In terms of good late picks there, I don't think there's really an abundance of them. Maybe like a thrower if you're running triple sniper, I brought like Sprout, or a Mortis or a Fang or something will do a lot of damage to you. So again, making sure you've got a little bit of everything covered, at least one brawler that can defend themselves against those aggros. Now on to Infinite Doom here, best picks on your screen right here. So I didn't get any gameplay with this one. It's one of the only few ones I didn't manage to get my hands on. But if you guys have played Infinite Doom in the past, you know how it plays. It can be difficult to gain control if you don't have vision gear on first and foremost. So I do recommend pretty much every brawler to have vision gear, even if the map gets broken up pretty quickly. If there's, you know, like a Brock, etc., it's just like you just need to have vision gear for those first interactions. And in terms of other good brawlers here, you know, Crow's really good for poke damage, and he's not actually too suspect to the typical bounty snipers, so he's actually really good here and definitely improved. Charlie, really good for just spamming shots to scout the bushes, and you've got spiders, and she can counter the tanky brawlers on this map, and then with spiders counter the typical good snipers. You know, Ollie's going to be really good here. Janet's good because you've got her gadget to scout the bushes, and she can just scout with her main attack really easily. Brock's really good because you can just use like a couple of gadgets, and then if you break open the map, it's basically in the middle, a couple of wall breaks, you just know at all times if the enemy is going to be sneaking up on you. So if you break open those points, they can never surprise you, essentially. Same goes with Bo as well with his vision star power. I mean, you probably don't need that, but definitely the vision gear on Bo is going to help you, and especially breaking open the map. But again, just making sure you at least got like one brawler that's amazing at scouting. So that's why I really like Jean here, the Crow, you know, whether that's a Tara with the vision there, whether that's is quite good like Amber's really good at breaking open the grass. Otis, you need one vision brawler at least, one sniper at least, maybe even two, but you got to be definitely scared of those late aggro picks, because if you haven't got like at least one counter in there, they're just going to go so many different tanks as a last pick, and they'll just overrun you, and they'll just keep control of the bush, and there's nothing that you'll be able to do. Moving on to Layer Cake here, your best picks on your screen right here with Layer Cake. I like this one because it is it favors a lot of different options. You can go a lot of aggressive options, and this is why Shade is one of the best picks on this map. Absolutely one of the few ones where you can actually pick him early on in the draft, because you can just get so much value with him, and a good Shade will just completely take over the game. Kit is always one of the best brawlers. You always see the same type of brawlers in Bounty: Jean, Ollie, Byron, Bonnie. You can always go those. So in terms of other picks that might be surprising to you guys, a couple like some Mr. P. I like Mr. P on this map mainly because there's just a lot of like bush camping and camping behind walls, so Mr. P can always just get value there. Gray as well is insane, especially with a Doug. You pair Gray with Doug, the reason why it's so broken is because Doug's hypercharge, you can teleport in with a Gray, and Doug's hypercharge will just destroy everything, and Doug's very good on Layer Cake. Again, with Layer Cake, your typical snipers aren't going to be that great. You might want to go one late on in draft, but if you're going like Piper, if you're going Angelo, or any of these brawlers, or multiple of the brawlers, you know, Belle, for example, you're going to get pressure back into spawn pretty quickly, because the likes of Kenji are very, very solid. The likes of Squeak are just so good because of the way that he can push up behind the wall and his attacks can shoot around walls. The likes of Carl, going to be really good for wall peeking. The likes of Buster going to be very good at pushing up. There's so many brawlers that can just push up for free and just get pressure, where snipers just aren't that good enough. So bear that in mind. Late picks is your typical tanks and throwers that are going to be very dangerous. Moving on to your final bounty map, we have Shooting Star. This meta pretty much never changes in Shooting Star through the years, but there's been a few differences. I'll say like Jae Young is one of the best brawlers for me, just because he's such a great pick into everything. Again, even snipers struggle taking out Jae Young with this speed attack. You got the likes of Piper, still pretty good, but can get countered by Nanny, but I just like going Piper anyway because I have a big ego. Mandy as well. I think Mandy's actually a little bit better than Piper personally, just because you've got the super that can just guarantee your kills, especially with the hypercharge. Byron again becoming one of the best brawlers in the game, which is pretty nice. Nanny is very, very good on this map because you're pretty much guaranteed to face off against a couple of snipers, so Nanny's always a great counter pick with the return to sender. Belle's going to be good with those bell traps. You've got Great in the middle, so it's up to you what mid brawler you kind of go here. There's quite a few actually options right now in Shooting Star in the mid section. You've got like Jean, you've got Jae Young, you've got Angela. There's three of the top ones. You've got Gray, you've got last case scenario, I mean Cole can be good as well because of the blue star. You've got Ollie again, like it takes a good Ollie player to make it work on Shooting Star, but it can definitely work. Mr. P, there's quite a few options. You can go in the middle and then lane. Typically you want to go snipers, but you can maybe go like one a little bit funkier brawler like Leon. I do like a Leon in Shooting Star. I do like a Kaze that can surprise the opponents as well. In terms of late picks, I don't think you really need to worry about late picks in Shooting Star. Now moving on to Dribble, starting off with center stage here. Your best picks on your screen right here. So with center stage, it is a very bushy map, so you got to bear that in mind, that not only your pick's important, but your build is important. That vision gear is essential for at least a couple of the brawlers. So Do bear that in mind. You know, a few brawlers in particular, like the Otis here in the first pick category, which is so fundamental having the vision gear on. It just enables you to counter pretty much everything within your lane. So I really like Otis here because he can compete against a longer range brawlers and he can hard counter a lot of these assassins and tanks that like to run up on you. So do bear that in mind. But like Crow, just going to be very good at scouting and just being annoying to deal with. Not many brawlers really counter him right now. Byron's just good. I mean, he can be suspect to a lot of aggro, but I still think he can just pair well with so many aggro brawlers as well that he's going to be feeding free hyper charges for sure. Charlie, again, just not a lot of brawlers really counter Charlie. I mean, there's like Amber. That's about the only one you've got to worry about when you're using Charlie, but you can easily ban out Amber. That's what I do on this map. And then I can go like Tara. I like to go Charlie a lot when Amber is banned out. And you've got Lumi. Lumi very underrated, but in particular probably the best brawler in this map in my eyes, but this is what the pros have been going a lot of the time. Lumi is so good at shutting down each lane, especially with a gadget. It's really hard to push into a Lumi on this map for sure. And then in terms of in Brawl, I always say you probably want like one tank counter and you want one aggressive tank, like a goal scorer. So you've got quite an abundance of them in Dribble right now. You've got Lily, you've got Kenji, you've got Bull, you've got Buster, you've got Hank, you've got Draco. It's a bushy map. There's going to be a lot of them. And there's the late pick as well. There's quite a few really good ones. You've got Buzz with the gadget that can see through the grass. You've got Primo as a late pick, Ash. You've got Doug as well. There's quite an abundance of aggro brawlers. So you kind of got the gist of it here. You want one tank counter, one aggro brawler, and then one whatever you fancy. So we have Pinball Dreams here, best picks on your screen right here. So as always, Kit and Kaze are some of the best brawlers in the game. Same with Bonnie as well. Bonnie's really good on this map because you might get the odd thrower here, so what you can do, you farm super from your mid brawler, and then you can just jump onto a thrower for a free kill. So I really like Bonnie here, and just in particular, she's always good in the meta because of the hypercharge. You've got Ollie as well. Ollie's really good here. I know you can get countered by Poco, so I just tend to ban out Ollie a lot of the times because it can make the draft very rock, paper, scissors. But I think maybe in the lower ranks, you can get away with going Ollie just because of the broken hypercharge. I don't think everyone knows that Poco is by far the biggest counter because of protective tunes. But better man, maybe you can do some draft strategy as well around Ollie, in a sense like if you've got 2 free pick, you can pick Poco and Ollie a lot of times in Hot Zone and Brawl in particular. So do bear that in mind. One of the most powerful synergies for sure. Byron, one of the best mids for sure. Cordelius, again, one of those lanes which never really gets banned, but he's a top 5, top 3 brawler in the game. And he's insane in Brawl. You got Willow as a great safe pick on this map. I really like Willow in draft because what do you actually go to counter Willow? I mean, you can't overwhelm Willow if there's like so many aggro brawlers, but just one aggro brawler, Willow can deal with that, and she can deal with all the other brawlers. Again, Lumi's just going to be that brawler that can play as a lane or a mid, super consistent. Same goes with Crow, same goes with Charlie as well. So as I always say, you want to make sure that your draft is covered in all bases. You got to worry about aggro, you got to worry about throwers, and yeah, so you're making sure that you've got maybe like a wall break, maybe, well, definitely a tank count in there, and you need some aggression yourself, so you need a bit of everything. Next up, we have Sneaky Fields here, your best picks on your screen right here. So Sneaky Fields plays quite similarly to Center Stage because there's a lot of grass, right? So you're going to see the same kind of picks. It doesn't completely play the same because it's not as hide and seek as Center Stage. There's actually a lot of pinching to be had on this map, especially with the mid. So do bear that in mind. Your mid is very, very important for gaining control. So again, I will stress that the vision gate is very, very essential for this map, especially if you're the mid player or if you're a brawler like Otis, Amber. These types of brawlers, you need to be running the vision gear so you can scout the opponents. It makes it easy to pinch them out and ultimately gain you control of that middle section. So there's quite a few good mid brawlers on this map that you can go. You can go the likes of Bonnie, you can go Byron, Crow, Lumi, Charlie. You can even go Amber to counter some of the like Tara and Charlie as well. Again, like Kit can be pretty good here, but you do got to worry about a lot of tanks here. I know like Kit can feed a super from the tanks, but they've also got broken hypercharges as well. So you've got to bear that in mind pretty hard, especially if you're running Kit into like a Tara, Otis, etc. It can be pretty difficult, even though he's got a broken hypercharge. Finks can be a pretty good solid brawler in the mid here, just good into everything. Ruffs as well, pretty underrated here. But as I always say, making sure that you've got at least one brawler that can, like, he has presence in the grass. If you just got like 3 chip brawlers that can't really sit in the grass for long, like, you're just going to get overrun and you're never going to get control of the grass. So do do bear that in mind. And again, those tankier options are always going to be your best 6 picks. And finally for Brawl, we have Dribble here. Best picks on your screen right here. So kind of like Pinball Dreams, your throwers are going to be pretty dominant on this map. So I kind of always try and go throw it in the middle just because it's just simple. I won't really go Barley too early on in the draft because you can get countered by a couple of like Lilies, Kenjis, etc. But Willow, you can defend yourself against like a Lily and Kenji through the dive gadget and her super. That's why she's a really good draft pick right now. Or you can probably go the alternative route and just go like a Cordelis to jump over the walls, a Kit to be really aggressive. You got a Shade in the middle as well. So it's either a thrower or something extremely aggressive in the midsection. And then far right, you typically want a brawler with a bit more range because there is that open space there. So that's where you tend to see maybe like a hybrid sniper. Byron's, it can get pressured on this map, but I just really like Byron with the hypercharge. You've got like Lumi, you've got Charlie that can sit in the open, but also sit in different places. And then you want to be sending your tank bro. It depends. If you've got like a Kenji, for example, he can just push in the right top corner really easily behind that wall. But if it's a different assassin, you probably want to go down the left-hand side. Again, you've got these like in-between brawlers like Mo, who I just really love in Triple Dribble because he can peek shot around these walls perfectly. And his super can actually just destroy those throwers in the middle. So I really like Mo here. Amber's really good on an open situation. You got Otis as well. Quite a few good options. Tanks can be good late picks, but I'd be more worried about throwers as a late pick. Now moving on to gem grab, starting off with a double swoosh here. Your best picks on your screen right here. So in terms of pro play, I think ever since, well, Tara's been better for about 3 or 4 months now. But it's like this rock, paper, scissors in terms of your draft strategy. I just think pretty much most of the time, if they have first pick, probably ban Tara. I would say that for the majority of the player base, just because people find it a bit more difficult to play Kaze. But in terms of like, if you want to reach Masters, like you have to be banning probably the best 3 brawlers in gem grab. I'd say on every map are Kit, Kaze, and Lily. So if you guys have been living on a rock, you wouldn't know that hypercharges are breaking gem grab in particular, because you could be losing the whole game and then there's a broken hypercharge brawler. So I'll go through them. The top 3 brawlers, Kaze, Lily, and Kit, their hypercharges are broken. You've got Ollie as well for the turnaround potential. You've got Kenji, you've got Cordelius, you've got quite a few that will just guarantee get a kill on the gem carrier. So do bear that in mind, and you can always just go one of those brawlers, because even if you're just losing the whole game, their hypercharge will you'll eventually get it right by the end of the game and you'll just win the game. So do bear that in mind. Of course, double swoosh, you won't be having a vision gear on a lot of these brawlers, but again, like if the enemy drafts Tara, you've got quite a few counters, and you've also got to be wary of your counters if you go Tara, if that makes sense. So you've got Amber that counters Tara, you've got Jae Young that can pierce through the pets, you've got Lumi, you've got Janet. There's actually quite a few more Tara counters. You've got Sandy as well. So there are a lot, but it's because she's just such a powerful pick that you have to pick these pure counters. Otis, that is returning to the meta, very good here. Crow, very, very good as well. In terms of late picks, I just think those tanks sneaking up in the bushes. So making sure that you've got a lot of like power with a super or with a vision gear to stop them from sneaking up. Next up, we have Gem 4 here, best picks right here. So with Gem 4, quite similar to double swoosh, a lot of bushes, and again, you've got to be running the vision gear so people aren't creeping up on you. But just a thought that I always have in Gem 4, just presume if you haven't seen someone for a while, they're probably behind you. So it's always just it's always best case scenario to check bushes and try as much as possible to keep an eye on where everyone is at every point. I know that's very, very difficult, especially without team communication, but it's my number 1 tip here, because you can easily just get crept up on Gem 4. You can get flanked so easily. So best 3 brawlers, as always, these turnaround brawlers are just far too good in gem grab. And again, the same likes of Ollie, Tara, and Cordelia. So in terms of the mid brawlers, there's quite a few good mid brawlers. You've got to remember, your mid brawlers have got to be able to defend themselves in a very aggressive gem grab meta. So Jae Young can defend himself very well. Charlie can defend herself with a super, but not only that, you've got her gadget that cocoons herself, so that's very good into the likes of broken hypercharges. A lot of pros run that gadget to save yourself. You've got Janet with her jump gadget and super, so a lot of these mids have some type of way to defend themselves. Byron is good in gem grab, but I would say he's good to counter other gem carriers, if that makes sense, but he's still pretty vulnerable. So do keep an eye on him. Don't draft him too early as a gem carrier. You can go Bonnie as a mid or a lane, more so as a mid, I would say, in gem grab, but you can definitely do either one. Russ is a very good sleeper pick, in my opinion. Break open the walls can just really help you in gem grab. Otis as well, super bushy map, vision gear going to be going very good. Thinks is another really underrated one, because you can play him as a mid on this map, a lot of people do, and a vision gear as well with him. He's very, very good in the middle. Late picks, definitely be careful of the shades. disgraceful on this map, and Mortis as well. Next we have Hard Rock Mine here. Your best picks on your screen right here. So the standard 3 brawlers are going to be the same here. Kaze, Kit, and Lily. Too good at turning around the game, and especially if they get in behind your grass on the right-hand side, they're just going to be a nuisance and just too difficult to deal with. So I just end up banning one of those 3 every single time. Normally I ban Lily or Kit. Those are the most troublesome because Kaze is a little bit harder to play. So Ollie, definitely very good. Again, you got to be a little bit careful of the Pokos trying to counter you, but I think against other matchups, you're still going to be pretty good as an Ollie because eventually you'll get your hypercharge right. Ruffs is very, very good in Hard Rock Mine. It's probably his best map. Rico used to be insane here, but I think he's easily countered now in this meta. Ruffs is just so good at locking down the lane and just being able to break open key points. Just very good for him. You can play him so defensively down either lane. Charlie really good as a lane or a mid brawler again, but just the same gem carries that I spoke about beforehand are going to be good really here as well. Hard Rock Mine's a little bit of a weirder one, but I do think you always need that aggressive brawler again. That's just applying pressure on the enemy gem carrier. So one of the golden 3, you've got Ollie, you've got Kenji, you've got well, Buster's not going to be that great of it, but you can still apply a little bit of pressure. You've got Mortis, Bull, Ali. You've got a lot of options. You've got Shade as well, so making sure you get that one aggressive brawler. Of course you need your mid and then a one in between. So now moving on to your final gem grab map, we have Undermine here. Best picks for this map. So again, the golden 3, the same 6 brawlers are not going to change for gem grab. A lot of them are just going to be turnaround brawlers or high damage brawlers. So with Undermine, I don't really like this map too much, but the one tip I would suggest is always like double stack a lane at the start. So if you're a gem carrier, just help out your lane at the start. Your mid isn't that important to begin with. You always want to win your lane because once you win your lane, it's pretty much impossible to then lose it. So yeah, it's very toxic in that setting. So do bear that in mind. And if you lose a lane, don't completely desert your lane, but just try something different. Don't just keep going down the same losing lane. So that's one thing to bear in mind on this map. It's not actually all about picks. I think it's just all about the first interaction on Undermine. So I don't really like it. It's a very small and trappy map. But the same type of gem grab brawlers are going to be pretty good. I really like Otis here as well, again because of the vision gear. But if you do lose your lane, at least with Otis you can kind of chip around, use your gadget to scout the bush. You know, you're eventually going to push in because of the vision gear, etc. So again, vision gear is essential, especially if you lose your lane. Just being able to know where they are, like you eventually your mid's going to help you, etc. It's going to be very good for that reason. And tanks can be pretty deadly on this map because again, if they're hiding in the bush, it's very hard to actually get them out of the bush without a high powerful super. In terms of late picks, Ali is very good as a late pick here, really good as a late pick in gem grab in general, and then you got Mortis, Bull, the same old. So now we're going to be moving on to Heist here, best Heist brawlers right here on the screen. So reach too far, I will say this map is a little bit more longer range heavy, definitely for sure, but yeah, I think the most of the Heist brawlers that are here aren't like good everywhere, to be fair. You got the likes of Amber that I really like here just because you can lock down a certain lane with her super and she can deal a lot of damage once left alone on the save. Chuck, of course, really good. Angela's just really good at cleaning up all the business. I always ban him because there's hardly any really counters to him unless you're as a team and you've just got 3 aggressive brawlers. It's probably the only way that you counter. And Angelo, Bonnie as well. Bonnie's always really good here. 8-bit is a big sleeper pick in Heist right now. I've been going a lot of 8-bit. And in particular this map, I mean, there are some counters at 8-bit like Brock, Colette, but they're not typically that good in this map. So yeah, 8-bit very solid. Eve as well. So as the number 1 tip here for Heist, by the way, is to have 1 defender or like a hybrid cleanup brawler and then probably 2 aggro brawlers. That's the best way. So the best defensive brawlers are going to be like probably like Amber, Charlie, Eve cleaning up in behind, maybe like a Belle on defense, something along those lines. Colette, there's a couple of others that could be pretty good. And then you want 2 high damage brawlers. So whether that's going to be like Lily on the safe constantly, 8-bit on the safe, whether that's a Bo with his mines, whether that's a Melody going in aggressively, whether it's an Ali, whether it's a Daryl. This is the kind of fundamentals you need in Heist. Now moving on to Hot Potato here, best picks for Hot Potato. So the best brawler by far is going to be Berry. The reason why Berry is so good is because of his gadget. He can delete, was it 20% on the safe at a time? It's around that figure, which is absolutely crazy. And the way that you want to be playing Berry, of course, mainly it's a solo job. You want to be making sure you're trying to defend yourself as much as possible. Make sure you're not getting sneaked upon, and then just use your super down one particular lane and just throw a gadget on the safe and just keep doing that. Keep repeating that because they can't ignore you. They're going to be forced to pinch you out every single time. So bear that in mind. People just forget that Berry's such a broken brawler on this map. Cordelius as well, like just such a good defender, just destroys everything. Lily, you can just gadget onto the safe really easily. It's just unlimited pressure, and that's the name of the game again in Heist. So I'm not even going to talk about all of the amazing picks because you guys should know most of them, but it's just all about building the best type of composition. So one defender, whether that be a Cordelius, whether that be a Lumi, whether that be a Charlie, whether that be Amber, etc. You need at least one defender in there. Nita as well, really good at defending. And then you want two aggressive brawlers, so you're just trying to pick the best of what's available. So whether that's the best first picks brawlers, whether that's like a Bull to get a lot of damage. Crows are good in between brawler. There's a couple of brawlers as well that can be good defensively and offensively, like Crow, like Nita, that can turn their supers into like a lot of damage onto the safe, so bear that in mind. I also missed out on Tara here. Tara can be pretty good on this map, but again, if you're facing off against like Miko and a Shade or like a Bull, then RT can be your ultimate defensive brawler, so just react to how your team drafts. Now moving on to Kaboom Canyon here, best picks on your screen right here. So this plays very much like Safe Zone, to be honest, in terms of the best brawlers, but Chuck's always going to be your best brawler. Angelo as well. That's why Eve is a good sleeper pick, because if Angelo's banned, then you can pretty much go Eve. It's just always safe in the draft. Probably should have put it a little bit further towards the best picks on this graphic. Amber is very, very good because, again, you can get a lot of damage on a safe, but she's just this really good hybrid brawler where she's good at defending because she deals a lot of damage, and then she can turn herself into an aggressive brawler as well. Charlie, great at defending, but the same applies here. You want those two aggressive brawlers, or at least one aggressive brawler, one defender, and then up to you whether you go more defensive with your third brawler or more offensive with your third brawler. So 8-bit, again, really underrated brawler, mainly because there's brawlers like Brock, Bo, and Colette. Those are like the main counters, aren't actually too meta anymore on Heist. So 8-bit with a damage buff, he's just very underrated. Byron's very good because he's kind of that intermediate brawler where he'll pair really well with like a Melody or an 8-bit or a Kaze, something really aggressive. It can just be a Byron just pocket healing, and his hypercharge is pretty broken. So yeah, good strategy in Kaboom Canyon because you can always be safe with a Byron. In terms of late picks, you don't really got to worry about too much other than like Miko. And lastly for Heist, we have Safe Zone here, your best picks for Safe Zone then. So again, the same type of brawlers as Kaboom Canyon pretty much. I really like Lily here because you can just gadget, just get unlimited pressure on the safe. So the name of the game in Heist, as always, you got to know your role, especially. So I see too many brawlers that are playing like, I don't know, Bonnie or Kaze, and they're just defending too much. Sometimes you want to help on defense just to quickly clean up, but you only want to help when you know for sure like your teammates are screwed. If you know they're going to get some damage on a save, it doesn't matter. You just got to soak it up, but you need offensive pressure. So that's a #1 mistake people make in Heist, so just bear that in mind. If you're a Daryl, you're constantly rolling backwards, you're just not going to do anything in terms of pressure for the other side. So what I really like in Safe Zone in terms of tips, like there's a lot of good brawlers here. I don't want to highlight too many because it's just the same old really with Safe Zone. I think the only really improvements I would say are like maybe Ruffs because of his projectile speed buffs, and Byron. Other than that, it's just the same. But what I'd say in Safe Zone is always, if you're an aggressive brawler, try and get into that right top pocket, and just, especially if you've got other high damage brawlers on your team. So for example, I don't know, say if you're like a Lily or a Bonnie or a Melody, and you've just managed to get into the right top corner, and then you've got like an Amber or an 8-bit on your team. If you're forcing the other two brawlers on the enemy team to pinch you out, they're focused on you, and then your 8-bit, your Amber, they can just rain so much damage onto the safe. So it's just such a good strategy, whether you use Carl as well, just to create pressure. Just creating pressure on Safe Zone is the key to success. So now I'm going to move it on to Hot Zone here, your best picks for Dueling Beetles. I think the most underrated by far brawler in Hot Zone has to be Finks. Finks is the best brawler in Hot Zone for sure. The recent hypercharge has made him that much better, but he's still just really good here. Again, Ollie's going to be very good, but you've got to be wary of the Poco strategy. So if you're first picking an Ollie, you've got to make sure that Poco is banned, by the way, or it's difficult. So most of the time I just ban out Ollie, so I don't have to worry about the rock paper scissors that goes on around trying to counter him. In terms of other good picks as well, I really like Hank on this map because you can create a lot of pressure with him, especially paired with like a Jae Young, paired with a Byron as well. So do bear that in mind. Again, Byron's going to be absolutely insane here. Crow as well because he's good into everything, and there's so many brawlers that I like that can just be good at everything. So I always like a couple of good cleanup brawlers on this map. You know, aggro brawlers can be good, but I like the cleanup brawlers. So the cleanup brawlers are like Lumi, Charlie, that can chip from a distance, for Jae Youngs, the Bonnies that can chip from a distance and then confirm kills with hypercharges, etc. There's quite a few of these. Meg's really good for just getting zone time and a really tough kill. you know, for example, you take a look at like Bonnie trying to kill a Meg. Well, Meg's got such good survivability. She can just be annoying there. Kaze as well, really good survivability against the Kaze. So Meg, very underrated here as well. Amber's going to be really good just into pretty much everything. And then in terms of late picks, the biggest late picks you got to worry about are the control brawlers on this map, in my opinion. But like Squeak, Sprout, and a Barley. So make sure you got at least one brawler that can make some aggressive plays, whether that be a Cordelius, whether it be a Draco, whether it be a Kenji, a Bonnie. You got to make sure something can counter a thrower. So now moving on to open business here, best picks right here. So this plays a little bit similar to Dueling Beetles, but I think the snipers aren't exactly the best here, mainly because it's just a confined space in this middle area in open business. Why a lot of tanks really thrive on this map, because they can just push up to the wall and it's really hard to get them out of that position. So as always, the best brawlers, I don't think they really changed too much in Hot Zone in terms of things being really good. Crow, just because they're just going to get unlimited supers and they can just make the best out of that situation. You've got like Charlie and Lumi as well that can just be so good at controlling. Again, like I think you can actually just go a lot of these tanks and just not even worry, even if facing off against counters, for example like Draco and Kenji. You know you're going to get pressure, and with Draco you're going to get your hypercharge for free through taking damage, so you can just pretty much always go at a Draco. And like Lily, for example, you're always going to get pressure and you're always going to cycle through your hypercharges and confirm kills. You're pretty much always going to face like somewhat of a squishy brawler. A lot of people like going like Gus, Byron, Lumi, and Lily can deal really well with all of those brawlers. Bonnie as well, just good into everything. In terms of those sleeper picks, you've got like Berry that people forget about. You've got Ruffs that people just forget about. You've got Shade later on in the draft that people forget about, who's got broken hypercharge, and your throwers. So you just got a lot of messy options in open business. So now moving on to parallel plays here, your best picks on your screen right here. Parallel plays always annoys me in draft. I can never quite figure out what is the best brawler to go here, to be honest. Parallel plays just gives me a headache, mainly because there's a lot of like strategy involved with this, and it's really hard to strategize and communicate with your teammates, because for example, if you really need to go on the offensive lane, you can't really communicate that, right? There's always this kind of back and forth in terms of your lane. So as always, strategy with parallel plays, you want that one defensive brawler on the left lane. So whether that be an RT, whether that be a Charlie, whether that be a Cordelius, it's got to be something that maybe it's good at shooting around walls, because for example, if a Kenji just comes up to you and your teammates have just gone double up the right hand lane, if you're just, I don't know, even if you're, Charlie's good at wall peeking, but I don't know, just say any other brawler that can't really wall peek that well, Kenji can just sit behind that unbreakable wall and you can't get him off the zone. So it's just really good to have a brawler that can wall peek. So that's why I really like Lumi, again Charlie, Cordelius that can jump over walls, RT that can split and destroy people, Willow as well, pretty good on the defensive lane, really hard to push. Just think of brawlers that are really hard to push into if you're an assassin, and that's where you want to go defensively. In the middle, you want a brawler that can just help support and just be annoying to the opponent. So whether that's like a Byron, again, whether that's like a Charlie with some decent range, whether that's a thrower, whether that's a Jaeyoung, whether it's an Amber, kind of want this in-between brawler that can just apply pressure and defend pretty well. And then offensively, there's quite a few good options. Again, just think of the brawlers that really annoy you on this map, that are really hard to deal with, that literally require people pinching them out consistently. Hanker's one of them, Ollie's one of them, Kaze's one of them, Kit is one of them, Chuck, if you know the strategy here, Draco is one of them. There's just so many aggressive picks down that right-hand side that you can go. And finally for Hot Zone, we have Ring of Fire here. Your best picks for Ring of Fire on your screen. So this one always eludes me a little bit, because if you lose track of the opponents pushing you into the bushes, it can get very messy very quickly in Ring of Fire. So as always, you want that one mid brawler with some pretty decent range, whether that be like a Byron, whether it be a Bonnie. Think again, absolutely insane on this map. You want that one brawler that's going to make some aggressive plays. So that's either going to be like your Kaze, your Kit, your Cordelius, your Draco, your brawler, your Kenji. There's quite a few that are basically want to be pushing up in either lane. Most of the time you want it to be the right lane, and you want them just to create pressure, and you want them to be forcing the opponents to pinch you out, if that makes sense, because if there's two people pinching you out, that gives room for your teammates to push up the map. So yeah, you always want something aggressive. You don't just want three brawlers sitting there, because then you're just asking for pressure, and if you're the one constantly trying to pinch people out, you're wasting time and you're not getting enough zone percentage. So bear that in mind in terms of strategy with Ring of Fire. So again, there's a couple of brawlers that are like guaranteed you to get zone time, like Lou. Bow Mines, for example, Amber Super can guarantee you get zone time. That can be very influential on this type of map. And then in terms of late picks, Tara can be good because there's like Kaze, there's Kit, there's quite a few aggressive brawlers that Tara's good into, and people like going snipers here, so the pets are very good into that. Ali can be a good underrated late pick. Penny as well. There's a couple. And finally, moving on to everyone's favorite game mode, Knockout. Start off with Bell's Rock. So with Bell's Rock, we played so much Knockout. I feel like I know this meta pretty much perfectly here. So in terms of the picks, Jean's going to be good into everything. So is Jay Young, so you want to be going that kit. Can be countered on this map, but it's more so just ban it the opponents on first pick because it can be powerful with a tank especially. So Gray's going to be good here because of his Walking King gadget. Kaze can be good as a surprise element with the invisibility gadget. And in terms of other good picks as well, I'm really liking Brock right now in the knockout meta. Because with Brock, you can easily switch his build over. You know, for example, if you're facing off against a Bonnie or a Kaze or something a bit aggressive, you can go to the jump gadget. Facing off against throwers, you can just use the wall break gadget, so really good for that fact. And again, your snipers can be good here, but more riskier options you want to be using later on in the draft because they'll get pressure too much on this map. You want to go for like the hybrid snipers. So the hybrid snipers I like to call like Angelo, the Bell, Gus's, the snipers that can defend themselves at least a little bit against aggression. Squeak can be pretty good here because his wind up gadget. Buster can be good in a composition that likes to group up. And you got a few more options. Well, Ollie good later on in the draft if you haven't got too many high powerful snipers that can pinch him out. And in terms of late pick, you don't really got to worry about too much other than throwers. So now moving on to Flare and Phoenix. Here is your best picks right here. So I realized I spelled Phoenix wrong. Just don't even look at that. Anyways, in terms of the picks, we have Jean, Byron, and Jay Young. They're just going to be good into everything. The way that Flare and Phoenix normally works is send two people in the middle, like one far right, one middle, and then one left side. And if you're facing off against something that can appear in and out of bushes, so like a kit, like a Kaze, something like that, you probably, or Lily, you probably just want to group up in the middle section. So as always, you've got like throws that can be pretty good here, but do be careful because, again, if you're facing off against one of those brawlers that can go invisible, you are an easy target. So bear that in mind with throws, but they're very powerful down the left-hand lane. Again, really powerful brawler I like is Brock. Brock is so good at countering so many brawlers on this map because you think about it with Brock, if you're breaking open all of the grass, you're basically countering the invisible brawlers because Lily just won't have the distance to surprise you if all of her bushes are destroyed. The likes of Juju used to be really good here, but you've got Brock that can just open up the grass. You've got a few more invisible brawlers that I spoke about. If Brock's destroying every single bit of grass, they've got really nowhere to hide, if that makes sense. Angelo, really good as a sniper. Being able to pierce through walls is very, very essential. And I really, really love Buster here. He's one of my favorite brawlers here because you can just group up with all three brawlers or just two at least in the middle. And by the time the gas closes in, normally people wait for the gas to close in here. You can just push up with a free hypercharge near enough and just win the game. And even if you haven't got your hypercharge, if anyone oversteps their mark, you can just gadget them and kill them easily with a Buster. So bear that in mind. So now moving on to New Horizons here, your best picks right here. So with New Horizons, there are a lot of cheesy strategies that go down here. So you've got to take a few things into consideration here. You've got to make sure that you've got, again, like one wall breaker, at least somebody that can pinch okay, like even if it's like a super that eventually breaks walls, like a Jean super, like Gray's Walking Cane just breaks it with the gadget, but you get what I mean. Or at least something that pierces, like an Angelo pierce. Or else there can be some cheesy compositions like Doug compositions, Buster compositions, Ollie just sitting behind the wall and waiting for the gas to close in. So do bear that in mind. So your typical snipers are going to be okay here for sure, but I think, again, the more hybrid snipers are going to be pretty powerful here. It's all about trying to devise a strategy to make work in the late game, in my opinion, and all about trying to force the opponents back to their spawn, because if you can spawn trap them, the gas is just going to do all the work for you. In terms of late picks, I won't really worry about too much. It's more so trying to devise a strategy, making sure that you're not getting countered by the cheesy Gray, Doug, Buster strategies. And lastly, for knockout, we have Out in the Open here, your best picks right here. So very, very sniper heavy map and Out in the Open. You haven't got to worry too much about those late picks. There can be a few annoying ones like Daryl, Lily, but they're not going to cause you too much concern. I think the probably best late pick is going to be the Nanny into other snipers. So with Out in the Open, I do like a few strategies here. So the first strategy is having one wall breaker in your team, whether that's like a Brock gadget, whether that's a Piper super, really good because you can break open that back wall. It means you don't get spawn trapped. Another strategy that I really like is having a brawler with a powerful super that can jump in. So what I mean by that, you build up your super in the first round, and then, you know, whether you have like a Jean pull or a Bonnie super, you wait a little bit, I'm talking like a couple of seconds, whilst you're near the launch pad, and then you jump in and you pretty much get a free kill every single time. So just a good strategy there to have. It catches people by surprise easily. But yeah, your snipers are going to be really good here. Squeak's going to be very, very good because he's just going to be able to use a wind-up gadget and get free pressure. But it's all about trying to pinch the opponents back into their spawn. So just bear that in mind with the draft. A lot of good sniping options. Again, it's hard to really out-draft anybody really on out in the open. There's just so many good picks.